Warning. This video and all other videos on this channel are for entertainment purposes only. The content of this video and all other videos on this channel are the opinions of the creator only and do not constitute legal, trading, investment, or financial advice of any kind. Investing carries a high level of risk and the majority of retail clients lose money. Do not invest any capital unless you understand the risks and you are prepared to lose it all. Alright, hello and welcome to Camel Finance. I'm your boy Camel. So I know a bunch of you guys are looking for some discounts today. I know a bunch of you have been waiting for them. And the reviews for this thing are still really good. You just want to reiterate how grateful you are for the indicator, which gave you the lead time for which we're entering a daily cycle low window. So yeah, I think whilst a lot of people were calling manipulation, we kind of saw this coming on this channel, right? We knew that we were heading for that cycle low. If you want to go to the merch store, you can claim 13% discount using the code HUMPKIN. You can stack multiple items for additional discounts, and it includes a PDF, so you can go and use that if you're interested. And for anyone that wanted to get the indicator, we've given everyone the chance to claim $130 off of the yearly package. It applies to new users only. The code is valid for a week, and you can use the code HUMPKIN to claim that as well. I will say this, you still get a 2-week free trial for this, okay? And it is risk-free. I know some people get a bit weirded out by the fact the free trial requires you to put some payment details in, but you can just cancel them and it is completely risk-free. And also, in the worst case scenario, let's say you forgot to cancel it or you had some kind of problem canceling it, but you really didn't want to pay for it, okay? We're not just going to be like, no backsies, okay? Like, there is a real team of customer support behind it. If you get to the end of the 2-week trial and you don't want it, then just message them and they'll give you your money back, right? It's not kind of a rug pull or scam or anything like that, okay? It really is a risk-free trial. There really is a real human customer service team behind it. We really are there to give you what you paid for, and if you don't want it, you don't have to pay, okay? So it really is risk-free. We want you to try it, make sure you like it before you actually commit to paying for it. And so, like I said, for the next week, you can claim this discount and you still get your 2-week risk-free trial, okay? So it is still our job to be as good at this as we can be. It's still our job to make sure that we continuously achieve that 5-star review on Trustpilot and alike. We continue to get really, really good reviews, right? Everyone's been really happy so far. There's a real customer service team, like I said. This is not some kind of money grab or anything like that. It's totally optional. And now you can claim another $130 off the yearly package for the next week. People really like it, by the way. You'll notice this. If you go on the website, read the testimonies, if you go on Trustpilot and look at the reviews, this is a really, really, really powerful product and people are very, very happy with it. Digital Drill Ventures here made 150% on multiple trades using this indicator. So get the discount while you can, indeed. I also wanted to show you a couple of things as well, because you'll probably often see me use the camel indicator stripped back like this. These are my preferred minimalist settings. But this indicator actually does absolutely boatloads of stuff, okay? You can have all these additional features on there. You can resize them, you can customize them, you can change them. It will give you the cycle translations and the cycle highs. It will give you all sorts of different things, okay? Including windows for future expected cycle lows. And we're even working on this thing that's not ready yet, but you'll see down here, gold indicator count. We're working on this new feature where you'll be able to choose between the standard counts, which are derived from cycle theory itself, or have the indicator observe all of the tradable lows and pivots and then average them out to come up with its own custom count for every single asset. So the idea of this is it takes what's already an edge and sharpens it further. This should, in theory, if we can get it right, and it looks like we're going to, give you even higher probabilistic edge over the markets, because rather than just say, well, gold typically puts in a low every 24, 25 days, something like that on average, but we all know that occasionally it throws like a 16-day or a 17, right, outside of the window. Occasionally here, it threw a 30-day, right, which is, again, outside the window to the other side. But what this does is produces its own custom count range, and therefore it can go looking for lows inside of a wider window, and that should give you a higher probability. So that'll be another feature that's coming soon. And we continue to build out other things on top of this. We're soon to offer all kinds of different packages. We want to do a thing where we're going to get people onto the website for free and give you guys a bunch of like macro tools and stuff like that table I often have up here with all the CPI data and all that kind of thing. We're building out these mini tools and additional features that you can just add for extra edge and for extra convenience to boost your trading and make you a better trader. And we're soon to add even more other indicators and stuff like this. We've already got some other ones. I think you can claim a free one on there already. We're almost done with this trendline indicator, which number one, it will notify you in real time with trendline breakouts. Number two, it draws all the trend lines for you. And then it identifies the types of breakouts using the type 1, type 2, type 3, type 4, okay, and tells you what they are when you hover over them. In addition to this, soon to be integrated into the original cycle trading indicator is the cycle top indicator, okay? Now look at this. I mean,
Come on, right? Come on. Can you imagine if we can actually get this right? This is going to be one of the most powerful tools on the entire trading ecosphere, frankly. Probabilistic edge for getting high probability setups to find the lows, and then an exit signal on top of this. Like, come on, this is going to be insane. And of course, if you're already signed up, then as we release this stuff, it'll just be there ready for you, right? We're going to integrate this cycle high thing into the original CF indicator. Just playing around with this and seeing what it does for the cycle highs on the monthly time frame. It's probably not even designed to do this, but I'm just having a look. It looks pretty good to me, to be honest. Check out the NASDAQ. Here's the weekly pivots. I mean, that's pretty good if you ask me, right? And then monthly pivots, I'm not even sure if it's supposed to do this, but it looks like it picks these major tops, doesn't it? So that's okay. I mean, it's designed to work more on the daily time frame, okay? And obviously, as you can see there, it looks pretty good as well. So, I mean, this should be pretty good, right? We're going to keep sharpening it. I'm not going to just release this. I want this thing to work extremely well. Ben, behind the team that builds the website and the indicator and everything like that, is also very, very, very set on having probability edge. There's no point just having something that doesn't actually give you probability edge over the market, right? So we're going to make sure we keep polishing that and keep sharpening it. But as you can see, right, anyone that's been following this whole thing for any length of time at all knows that this just continues to get better and better and better. So go on, give it a try, okay? You've got nothing to lose and everything to gain. I promise you it will make you a better trader. Now, let's show you some simulation type stuff, okay? Because for those of you that know, Josh's account kind of blew up. He's an ex-institutional guy, right? Solomon Brothers in the 90s and a bunch of other stuff, right? And he put out this tweet about predicting 84k as the close on a specific day, and then it came true, and then it kind of broke the internet in the short term because the probability of that happening is essentially zero, right? And of course, it could be like market makers playing games. It could be that he's got some friends on the inside that help kind of push it. Who knows, right? Or it could have just been, like he says, kind of some kind of simulation type ontology, divine guidance from above. Who really knows, right? Who really knows? But obviously, his Twitter profile blows up, and the internet kind of breaks for a couple of days whilst we've got nothing better to do, as this was seemingly a real hack to the simulation. Josh then proceeds to consistently reiterate his long-term call that Bitcoin will, quote, run the table, rally and break out without really looking back, all the way up to 444k before then crashing back down to 84k. And as far as I'm aware, it's not something I pay close attention to, but as far as I'm aware, he is still calling for 444k and calling for it sometime this year, I believe by November or something. So yeah, his words, not mine, okay? But one thing I do know is there is the upcoming Bitcoin improvement proposal, which is BIP 444, okay? And it is intended to limit arbitrary data like OP return to 84 bytes and up, right? The direct quote from the BIP 444 is to limit data to greater than 83 bytes, okay? So like 84 bytes and up. And I was just thinking to myself, what is the chances here that he forever touts 444 and 84, and then BIP 444 is talking about 84 bytes and up, right? Is it me? This to me just seemed like more than a coincidence. I think we live in a realm in which there are no coincidences. So let me know what you think about this. It just seemed a bit strange to me. It seemed like more than coincidence is probably a factor here. Now, I can't really speculate as to what more, but I think something fishy is going on here, to be completely honest with you. That's my kind of thoughts on this matter. I was kind of running through some charts and showing my wife. I was just kind of chatting with her really yesterday. And I'll show you what I did, right? She was like, oh, how's Bitcoin doing? Blah, blah, blah. Not that she really cares about any of this stuff, but she was asking me, you know, how's Bitcoin doing? I haven't checked it in a while, whatever. Blah. So I said, look, it's one of these two. And she said, okay, so is it going to go up or not? And I was like, well, I don't know. It could be either one of these, but in either case, I expect this left translation, right, either to a slight lower high or hopefully to one final higher high. And then I'm looking to sell and cash out. And she's like, okay, cool. I can't remember her exact words, but it was something to do with like, what's everyone else thinking? Something along those lines. And I said, well, it's really weird because everyone is now started to move the goalpost and talk about no more 4-year cycles or up only or an extended cycle or this weekly cycle being right translated or whatever. And it was funny how dismissive even my wife, who is not a trader or is not trained in any way, shape or form, right? She just lives with me and has done for something like 9 years now. But it was funny how dismissive her response was. She was just like, yeah, but it's a 4-year cycle. So obviously it's not going to overrun that much, right? And I burst out laughing. Like, how come she can get it, right? How come it's that simple to her, but everyone else really struggles with this concept? So she was going, well, that's good, right? That means it probably is going to top like sometime, you know, in this left translated window. And I was like, yeah. She didn't use the term left translated, but she was like, yeah, that means it's going to top sometime soon, like in here, right? And I'm like, yeah, that's my read at the moment, right? One of these two, hopefully it's this, okay? And if it's this, well, whatever, it doesn't really matter, right? So then she goes, well, that must be guaranteed if everyone else is aiming for this. And I said, well, nothing's ever guaranteed, right? But I said, I tell you what I can see, and I can see some warning signs, right? And so then I pulled up MicroStrategy and I said, look at this, right? This is MicroStrategy. And I said, look, we can make the case that this has already led on the way up and is now leading on the way down. And she was like, okay. And I could see I was half losing her at this point, right? But then I said, check this out. And I put this up and I went, look, this is just copy and pasted from back here. And she went, oh, wow, it's doing the exact same as last cycle then. And I was like, yeah. So it led on the way up and led on the way down. And she went, wow, I mean, that means we're even more close to being top to Bitcoin then. And I was like, well, yeah, it does, right? And you've got to think how hilarious this is. This is not a trader I'm speaking to. This is this is not someone that looks at charts, right? This is just someone that seems to take a very simplistic approach to markets, right? But anyway, I'm still thinking out loud at this point, and I pull up Coinbase, and I said, MicroStrategy has got earnings after the bell tonight. This was last night, of course, and so was Coinbase. And I pulled this up and said, look, I hope what we get for Coinbase here is this big yellow squiggle play out. We're going to dump the whole lot up here in the level 3 members section, and then, you know, we're laughing all the way to the bank. She was like, okay, cool. But I said, you know what, there is a bit of a risk of, and that is, if it breaks down from here, still very much make the case that this thing led on the way up, okay? It topped all the way back in, like, July of this year, lower high, lower high. If it breaks down, okay, having already bottomed for the cycle, then I was like, then this too is leading on the downside. And so anyway, at this point, my wife is like, I don't care anymore, Camel. Stop talking to me about Bitcoin. And I'm like, yeah, I get it. Fine. But that whole conversation with my wife that went pretty much exactly like that made me realize how vulnerable we are. If Bitcoin is really going to make an all-time high, it needs to essentially come swinging out of here, right now. And I can see people are getting very worn out and frustrated, okay? I can see people writing comments along the lines of, well, we've been talking about needing a big green candle for weeks. Yeah, we really did, okay? And we're still trading at the exact same prices that we were all the way back in May. So I know it's kind of sideways. I know it's frustrating. I know some people feel like they're entitled, like Bitcoin owes them 200K or something, okay? But in reality, this has been a good move, okay? Not by many people's expectations. And I know lots of people don't get out of bed for less than 10x, but for an institutionally driven bull market, to move up something akin to 680 odd % in 3 years, all driven by Wall Street and ETF buyers, I think we did pretty well. Okay, now I know it's not Lambo money for many people, and I know most people didn't play this. They played other things that didn't do half as well as this. Okay, but in reality, no one can really look at this and say this is a terrible bull run. Okay, it's just terrible compared to people that expected too much or felt entitled to something when the market doesn't owe us anything. So I'm equally as disappointed in this idea that we're going to roll over here as everyone else is. I want 150 or 200K, probably more than most people, right? Because most people aren't even holding Bitcoin. They're holding other stuff. They need alt season. At the same time, if this is actually going to roll over and head for that 4-year cycle low, then do we want to bag hold this thing down 50+%? No, at least I don't. And so this whole thing made me realize just how vulnerable we are now, right? We are, if you think about it, as of today, we are on day 60 now. So we can overrun by a few days. That could have been the low a week ago. It might be the low in a week or any time in between. But we're right now on day 60, so it's time to get a bounce, okay? It's time to get this daily cycle low push, and it's time to move higher. So the only real question here is, do we now move higher to all-time highs, like I hope, or do we get that rollover, okay? And at the same time, if we get that rollover, it is going to be time to start being really defensive here, okay? Because we're only 2 weekly cycle lows away from the 4-year cycle low. We've already had MicroStrategy top and roll over, okay? Now, it's got so much work to do, if we're being honest. It has so much work to do here before we can even entertain that this is all just a fake out, okay? Like, it's got to repair this. Once it's repaired this, it's got to repair the other one, okay? By now, at this angle, which is still pretty steep if we're being honest. In fact, let's give it even more benefit of the doubt. Let's say that MicroStrategy is going to be as steep as this, okay? And just comes rocketing out of here. By the time it even gets the breakout of this downward sloping red resistance line at the top, by the time it actually repairs all bearish structure, it is going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of the 31st of December. Okay, so it's not impossible that something like this comes and we get the top in the end of January, right? But keep in mind, with every day we don't do this, okay, or with every day that we trend up at less of an aggressive angle, okay, if we do this, look, right now, that's the 30th of January, and at that angle, it barely even gets to this downward sloping red resistance line at the top. Do you see what I mean? Like, we are on borrowed time here. This is leading to the downside. And in here, everyone was calling me an idiot, saying TA doesn't work anymore. Right now, ain't nobody got anything to say anymore. You know, they can see what everyone else can see. And that is that this is extremely damaged, okay? Now, crazier things have happened. Maybe it is this that comes up from here. Okay, maybe. But what I am saying is, objectively speaking, if that is not what happens, if we do not just melt higher from here relentlessly in a lockout rally, and remember, this lockout rally here was after all of this structure. So we had gradually climbed 1, 2, 3 angles, okay, big consolidation. This was the final blow-off euphoric moment. So to expect that final euphoric blow-off moment here seems a little bit unreasonable to me personally, okay? If we, again, were to just get some kind of lackluster bounce here, I mean, that would still be pretty good performance, wouldn't it? Because that would still be something like a 44% rally in no time at all. But this would take us till March. And by then, like, everything is going to have topped for the 4-year cycles. It's just, that's the highest probability outcome. So to say it's not is simply to be betting on something that is far lower probability than the top being in by then, right? And at the same time, I know Coinbase apparently is gapping up now. It's got some green earnings here. We'll see. The cycles are behind it, so that's good. But we really need to see this thing melt higher to all-time highs, and we need to do so in a near vertical fashion, because even this yellow squiggle, right, we're going to be topped by sometime around late December, okay? And then that's this whole thing complete. And again, if what we get here is yet another lower high bounce and a rollover, then I can only accept that this thing has led on the way up and is now leading on the way down. It was the same deal with Meta and Amazon that I was showing you guys earlier in the week, right? So this is the conversation I was having with my wife. I was mostly just thinking out loud, but I think there's a real knife edge here, and that's what I was talking about in this tweet. So we got Coin and MSTR reporting after the bell last night. The leaders lead, which again, think about that. We really need them to both lead higher here, not lower. And if they do lead higher, then we can all kind of sit back a bit and go, okay, woosah, everything's good, right? They're leading higher. Let's continue to push the buy button. Let's continue to ride these trades. Let's continue to stay long and strong until it becomes unreasonable to do so. Let's continue to champion the idea they're leading and therefore Bitcoin will follow. Happy days, right? But if they don't, if over the next couple of sessions here they roll over and move lower, or they show lackluster price action at best, then we have to accept what's happening right before our eyes. And that is that the leaders are continuing to lead to the downside, which would tell me that the highest probability outcome for Bitcoin is not my yellow squiggle, okay? And instead would actually be more like this, which again, we would need to react to and be ready to accept defeat on this idea, okay? Because capital preservation and protection is more important than ego and the need to be right or say I told you so. And also this would kind of make sense because we've got things like Riot here, okay? Which is essentially just looking for a final push into the end of the year, and that would give it its big top, right? Things like Wolf are in its final push, okay? A couple more gaps up and we've practically done that, okay, in a lot less time. Heart is another one we hold, okay, in long and short-term accounts. I mean, look at this. Absolutely ridiculous. We're almost up there. And if I just pull this trend line out a bit to the end of the year, you know, we're going to be somewhere up in this 70 or 80 neighborhood by January at the latest. And again, that's running the high, isn't it? So it kind of looks like we're in that grand finale moment to me. Again, expect some of these to lead on the way down. I think MicroStrategy's already shown us that, but it had the leadership performance on the way up, right? Coinbase did extremely well as well. It's up like 1100% off the lows, from the low to the high. So again, that's another big position there. That's another big leader. And if it's going to roll over and head down, then you can either choose to ignore that and say it doesn't matter, or you can say it's the leaders leading to the downside and therefore have to kind of get ready to defend yourself. IREN as well, you know, we have to be honest, how much longer can this go on for? And I know there's an AI narrative and whatever else, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care. All I know is the thing is going vertical right at the last portion of the bull phase of the 4-year cycle. So, you know, it really seems like we are on that knife edge. It really is now or never. And it doesn't mean we have to have any kind of panic or anything like that. It just means we have to have situational awareness. We have to start looking for the market to give us subtle tells, hints, and clues, and then use those to help us get out before everyone else has to get out, right? So we really are, at least by my perspective, on a knife edge. Tomorrow's closes, that's today, will be important, right? Strong weekly closes sets us up for further upside, further leadership. Happy days. Weak weekly closes today, I think, would be a bit of a warning sign. So keep an eye on that. There's probably going to be a Sunday pump for Bitcoin, and I say that purely because the cycles are ready to bottom here now, okay? And the last thing I wanted to do before I run through some charts is an update on this chart. This is Cisco in the light blue back here. It reached 4% of nominal GDP in 2000. NVDA at the hard right edge has reached more than 16% of GDP. Again, I am making the case that this is an enormous bubble unlike anything we've ever seen before, and there will be a whopping great meme reversion before too much longer, right into this 4-year cycle lows and then record printing and everything else. So for Bitcoin, I think we made my intentions clear, right? One of two scenarios. Let's see. I'm favoring this, okay, but watching for leadership to the downside just in case we have to put that rollover on the table as well. And of course, if for some strange reason we right translate this weekly cycle, then we'll open up those other scenarios, okay? But the market needs to show me that before I'm going to entertain it. As always, I've been saying that over and over again. Gold seems to be getting at least a counter trend bounce here. So if you're a level 3 member, we're going to use this counter trend bounce to get out. Unless it rips to new highs, then we're going to continue to stay long and strong. We did add a silver position here, so hopefully this can have a strong weekly close. Weak weekly closes would have me quite concerned and thinking we got to cut some positions. But again, we'll keep riding the waves for now at least. The S&P 500 continuing to move up. I did see in the news today there's a Trump-China trade deal. So yeah, there you go. And so far the S&P is up 44 points. Nasdaq up about 300. I am getting quite twitchy with the amount of profit I've got. I suspect some of the level 3 members feel this way as well in the crypto stocks. So I'm thinking I'm going to have to lighten some of those up soon enough. And some of these other positions like the semis have just flown out of those lows. So jumping up and down screaming contrarian does pay. I'm your boy Camel. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a fantastic weekend. Do go ahead and try that indicator out. It will change your trading career. Other than that, have a fantastic weekend. Until next time, cheers. Bye.
Camel Finance, he's the man to see. Rocking the markets with his contrarian spree. Trades like a pro, no fear, no shame. Sticking to his guns in his money game. He's a badass, oh yes indeed. Camel